Okay, good evening. I would like to call the Tuesday, February 15th Board of Selectmen's meeting to order. Can we all please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't have any announcements this evening, and there's no one here for anything that's not currently posted on our agenda, as it's just us. So we'll go right to the first agenda item, which is authorization for cable department license renewal with charter and possible votes. And for the first time, I don't have to recuse myself.
Oh, okay.
I no longer work for Comcast, so I can be part of these discussions.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Seeking to bring on counsel to start the process of renegotiating the license. 2023, our current license ends. Our attorney that worked on the last license is William Solomon, so his paperwork is in your packet.
Comcast of Massachusetts and New Hampshire LLC, that's who we're looking to go into business with?
Actually, I'm going to get my copy.
Yeah. This may explain the emergency broadcast.
I think it's an error.
I think it might be.
It appears to be.
That Comcast, they just get in the way of everything.
No, it looks like a template that he,
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They have more than 3 channels?
Yeah, because it says charter in the body of it, it's just on the heading.
Yeah, it is charter.
Seems pretty straightforward to me. Can we lean on them to build better infrastructure in Douglas?
Well, you know, one of the things, I'm not sure where the safety, there's plans for a safety complex, is that correct? Or possibly plans for that? I was thinking that might be something that we'd want to include as at least service to that building.
Any public safety building that the
Yeah.
town
Yeah.
directs, some general language like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But as far as the nitty-gritty of it, you know, I was just hoping to bring Bill on board and start, you know, just strategizing and figuring out how we're gonna move on this.
Structure a better deal, maybe?
That's some riveting stuff, is to get into franchise agreements with a cable company.
Yes.
It's almost as entertaining as when we were looking at all the different insurance options that we had.
That's the man.
Anybody care to make a motion on this?
So you're looking for a motion to authorize the cable department to enter into an agreement with the attorney? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Yes.
Negotiations, probably.
What did he say?
He said in negotiations.
So make a motion to authorize the cable department to enter into I forgot what I even said the first
An
time.
agreement.
An agreement, no.
Enter into negotiations,
Enter into negotiations
right?
with the cable department? No.
With William H.
Where-
Solomon.
With
you're
charter.
approving the legal services agreement so that this attorney can represent the town
Okay.
in
So moved.
negotiations with charter.
He got- We have a
So
motion.
moved.
He's so
I
moved.
think he finished it off, yeah.
Yeah.
He helped me
I will
fix
second
the
that.
mess I made.
Exactly. I'll second that motion.
The motion's been made and seconded, painfully. Any further discussion? Seeing as none, can I have a roll call vote?
Fitzpatrick, aye.
Morse, aye.
Cortez, aye.
Davis,
All right.
Yep.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
I'll let you know next time it snows in Belknap County.
Yeah.
When you guys start negotiating, get some like 5-hour energy, you're gonna need it.
Yeah.
The next agenda item is to review and approve the common vic license for Douglas Flea Market and possible votes. And according to our packet, they have everything except for the fire. We don't have the fire inspection report?
Those were the dates that they were last done by each department. So they do need it.
All right. Are they in the process of trying to schedule those with?
Yes, they are.
I'd make a motion that we renew the common vic license for the Douglas Flea Market contingent upon, is it just the fire inspection report?
Yep.
Contingent upon a successful completion of the fire inspection report.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing as none, can I have a roll call vote?
Fitzpatrick, aye.
Morris, aye.
Cortez, aye.
Awesome. All right, number 3 is to review the revised movie contract for use of Soldiers Field and possible votes.
I had sent you, I hadn't heard back from Rich when I had sent out the packets. I heard back yesterday, and on the memo, the top memo, those are his new suggestions that he wants edits done within the contract. I did email it to Carson Lund. He's going to forward it to his attorney and then get back to me with a edited copy. So maybe we can button this up at the next meeting. It's been going on for a while.
Those are all important edits, I think.
Is the edit in there that Tim wants a cameo in the movie?
It must be in like invisible ink, I don't see it.
I just wanted to make sure. All right, so we'll pass over that and address it at the next one, hopefully. Next is to approve minutes and possible votes.
And there's only executive from the 18th in here.
Make a motion to approve the executive session minutes of January 18th, 2022, and to retain same.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing as none, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Fitzpatrick, aye.
Morris, aye.
Cortez, aye.
Davis, aye.
All right, which brings us to your report.
Nope, you have one more item about the, or is that in your report?
That's in his report.
Okay, never mind.
Your report,
Yeah, it was
Mr.
in your report, sorry.
Administrator.
So pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 31D, I have approved the Highway Department to overspend the snow and ice budget. This is the notice required to you and to the Finance Committee. I've authorized them for $125,000 over their budgeted amount. So that left them with a balance of $91,808, and they probably spent half of that this weekend with this quasi-surprise, few more inches than everybody said we were going to get snowstorm. And they were out quite a bit with it because of the pattern that it followed was freezing, and so,
The dusting to 1 inch that turned into 8.
yeah, that one.
That's the good one.
With the freezing fog and all the rest that went along with it.
8 inches of flurries.
8 inches of flurries. Knock on wood, let's hope that's the last incident. But we shall see. There's a tremendous amount of paperwork flying through the air, so just to recap very quickly what some of those things are. We went out to bid for pipe on the large water infrastructure, water wastewater infrastructure project. That's grant funded. We had gone out to bid once already, and none of the contractors were able to make the timeframes that were a necessary part of the bid, so we rewrote the bid to allow for phased delivery and phased building and construction when it eventually occurs, so that we're only asking for the pipe to be delivered that we need immediately, and then this deadline for the second installation, second delivery would be postponed to a future date when the construction company is ready to move on to that phase. So while no one is willing to sign in blood on a specific delivery date, we did get a low bidder. We had 4 excellent bids. They were all within a very tight range. We got a low bidder that's willing to negotiate language with us in a contract, so there will be penalties for egregious delays. Not really excited about declaring anybody to be in breach because I have no alternatives. If these guys can't get it, nobody else is going to be able to. But it still puts us on course to try to hit some of the deadlines for the project, because they are still operating under the hope that we get them at least construction water right away this spring and an operational fire pump by the middle of July. We did meet with them and went over an extensive list of issues regarding the building permit, so some of the technicalities in the building permit. It was a long meeting. I thought it was very helpful. It was all 4 towns in the area, so we did have some conversation with Northbridge. It was mostly Uxbridge and Sutton and Douglas. We met here, went over a number of the dynamics of the project, if you will. And it was a helpful meeting. I think everybody walked away with a clearer sense of what expectations are. Some very good questions were raised, some good debates. The building commissioner for the town of Sutton has been on the BBRS for many years and made some very sharp comments that were very helpful to move the conversation forward. So that's on track. We are out to bid now for the ceiling repairs at the library, and we'll be posting gym windows, if not tomorrow, then the day after, for the same bid opening date, probably March 11th. We are also in the process now of evaluating designer packages for the fire department standby generator and electrical system upgrade.
We're getting a designer generator?
So, yeah, yeah, we might as well. You might as well build it yourself
it's
by
gonna
hand
be
in
a
your
Gucci.
backyard, you'll get it faster.
Yeah.
No, the project was complicated enough where we hired a designer to come up with contract specifications and to manage the process, the project process. So those original packages are all at the Building Facilities Committee for their consideration. They'll be sending you 3 finalists to pick from. I think we got 7?
There's 8.
8 packages, and 1 was late.
Yeah.
So we had 9, we got down to 8. Just pretty good turnout for what we're doing. We are knee-deep in the budget, and I hope everybody pays attention to FinCom and other committees that are beginning to meet and finalize and, work through their numbers. We're being much more reliant this year on sharing documents on the computer and in the cloud so that people can participate remotely and see what we're talking about and have a chance to prepare. There is a vaccination clinic at the Douglas Elementary School Friday, February 18th from 3 to 6 p.m. for boosters and for first dose of Pfizer. The town did obtain, through a group purchase, a large number of rapid tests, so-called rapid antigen tests for COVID-19. They are your typical over-the-counter, self-administered, do it at home. And we make these available to the public, especially if you're having difficulty getting your shipment from the federal government. I'm especially concerned for elders who are trying to navigate their Medicare coverage of rapid antigen tests, because they are not necessarily covered, and they are only covered in a limited fashion. So Patrice Rousseau, the director of our Adult Social Center, has a substantial supply. I know she has a list of people that were interested in having tests available to them, but it's a service that we're providing to the general public. We also got a shipment that was purchased through our health insurance cooperative buying group for beneficiaries that are in the town's insurance plan. All will get at least 10 and up to 11 free tests from us, because we were able to get a really good price, a much better price than that our members would pay in pharmacies. So we're basically saving the trust fund money. There is no reason to believe that this pandemic is any more over than it was after Delta or after the first round.
Any advance info on the next variant?
They've got their eyes on a couple of things that are spreading pretty rapidly in other places, but for the meantime, the state of Massachusetts has lifted a lot of the masking requirements. People should pay attention to the state website. There are still rules. If you're on public transportation, if you are in a congregate care facility, if you're visiting your children in prison, or those of us with kids think that's funny, and congregate care, what am I missing, hospitals, any medical treatment facility, you still have to wear a mask, but in most other places you do not have to. So those regulations are changing as we go through it. I feel like I could babble on. I guess the other thing, and it's not a subject of executive session because it is not bargaining.
Excuse me.
We are engaged in a conversation with our public safety employees over the potential use of ARPA funds for hazard pay. And that conversation will come to this board in the form of a policy, I believe, policy recommendation from the team that's talking to our employees. There are many considerations here. It is not, as I said, it's not subject to mandatory collective bargaining. This is just these are federal funds that have multiple potential uses. They are not part of the contract. There's no hazard pay call out in our contract, so this is not something that we are negotiating. Is a policy, though, that is worth exploring, because there was a period of time at which municipal governments could not protect all of its employees to the fullest extent that we wanted to, and that we still sent them into danger in a time when the nature of the pandemic wasn't really fully understood. Early on, we just had those scant reports from foreign countries of people, being hospitalized and potentially dying from this thing, and we had very little by way of PPE or protocols or anything in place. So there's a period of time that we're looking at pretty carefully. The policy considerations that all members of this board should start to think about is full-time versus part-time, right? So we had a lot of call firefighters. We also had part-time police officers who were serving the town during this time. And they're not receiving a salary from us. They're paid for the hours that they give us. And how do you want to go about thinking that through that, and to what extent do you want to think about anyone who is not a sworn public safety officer? Because there were quite a few civilians in this town that stepped up during that specific period of time, went door to door, did work with people in the public at that time. So those are the things that we're trying to work through. There's any number of thorny issues that come up. The rest of what I have for the board, Mr. Chairman, I have for executive session.
Right. Thank you, sir. Open session topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the meeting. Anybody want to talk about how dark some roads can get or anything like that?
I think if, Mr. Chairman, if you're referring to Route 16 out to Webster, though, I think part of the reason for any darkness is the fact that the state put down that new surface. And I think it's very dark in color, and it tends to absorb and not reflect light. I don't know if that's anything that pertains to what you were referring to.
It could be,
Okay,
could be.
just an observation.
I think we'll table it for another discussion sometime.
Understood.
We may have the need to have somebody from CMRPC go out and perambulate.
Well, I mean, the road in question goes through Douglas and into Webster, so it's certainly a regional issue. It's not limited to our town.
So perhaps when our
Jim
representative,
will take care of that.
that's what I was hoping to hear.
That's a wonderful idea, Selectman Davis. Thank you.
I second that.
Yeah, when our delegate from CMRPC gets back, we'll see what he'd like to do about that. It's a regional issue and all. Other than that, since Tim's not here to make his fantastic motion, does anybody else want to take a swag at that? Or would you like me to do it?
I think I'd rather watch you do it.
I second that.
You second that?
Yeah.
All right, so I will make a motion that we leave regular session, enter into executive session for the purpose of collective bargaining, interest in real property, investigation, litigation, and cyber building security briefing from Everlasting Designs, then to adjourn, to leave executive session for the purpose of adjournment.
I would second that well-worded motion.
So the motion has been made and
Wasn't as
seconded.
nice as the regional representative does, but I'll go along with it.
It's referred to as the Bonin motion. He's done so well at it. But it has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Seeing as none, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Fitzpatrick, aye.
Morse, aye.
Cortez, aye.
Davis, aye.
And call you on your cell?